Nathaniel, I just started the recording. Mike, did you hear me, Nathaniel?
Can you hear me?
Yes. I
Great.
just
Yeah.
I started the recording.
Okay, great. Yeah,
So
my Zoom's looking a little funny here for some reason. I'm not sure why, but it is. It
so
just updated and now I don't know. The all my controls on the bottom are missing.
well, I'm going to let you worry about that, and I'll start the roll call.
Wonderful.
So let's see. I need to get the list. Okay. Well, for this, welcome to the July 9th, 2024 session of TAPR and HamSCI technical session. My name is Dave, KV0S, and this week I think I got with the help of Rob, got my K9Q radio working and sending data. There's a few little glitches. I'll talk to him about that later. But I moved it to a B-Link and freed up the computer I was using for other things. And so I've been reorganizing the computer desk and doing lots of little things that are not all that interesting, but everything work better. So next on the list is Nathaniel, W2NAF. Go ahead, Nathaniel.
Thanks, Dave. It's been quite a busy week or so for me. We had a baby, and so that was really, really exciting. It was June 27th. We had baby Danielle Abigail, and she and my wife are doing just fine, and things are going well. And I think the other big news for this group is that the Daisy 2 proposal has been recommended for funding. So
Okay.
that's really good news. So thank you for everyone's help on that. So what recommended for funding means is that it passed the review stage and the program officer, the NSF program officer, has selected it, and they plan on funding it. So I'd say it's like 95 to 99% chance it's gonna go through. But with these government things, they say it ain't over till it's over. And so it still has to go through a round of like official technical things and officially be awarded, and there's a whole bunch of paperwork. And if anything happens with the government and there's any sort of instability, that can affect things, but hopefully everything will go smoothly, and we'll be able to continue on with the personal space weather station project for the next 4 years, and actually be able to deploy the 30 stations, receive stations that we said in the whisper songs that we talked about. So that's like really fantastic. And then aside from that, I'm just continuing to work on student projects and also try to do revisions on a paper that I'm working on, and things like that. So, but overall, very good. So back to Nat.
Okay. Next on the list is Dave, KD0EAG. Go ahead, Dave.
Um, very little I can think of at the moment that's worth talking about. I might have something to say to Bill Engelke eventually, but when there's time. Otherwise, that's it.
Okay. Next on the list is Dev, KC3PVE. Go ahead, Dev. Dev Joshi, are you there? His mic is on. He must have stepped away. So next on the list is Michael, AA8K. Go ahead, Michael. No camera, no mic. Okay. Next on the list is Bill Engelke, AB4EJ.
Thanks, Dave. Not much to report. It seems Hyoman is looking for a bunch of magnetometer data, and apparently he's got a reviewer who wants to reproduced some of the work in the most recent paper he submitted, and he's expecting it to be on the personal space weather station network, but I don't have it. So Dave Witten and I are going to have to work out how to make sure that Hyoman gets what he needs. So that's all we have going on right now. Back to you.
Oh, okay. Next on the list, let's see, would be Bob in 5BRG. And Bob sent me a message that he's got something to show later. Go ahead, Bob.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, I do have something I wanted to share later after we finish with roll call here. But so I'll just wait and talk about that later. So back over to you, Dave.
Okay. Next on the list, jumped around a little bit. Dave H, W6OQ. Go ahead.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I'm just here to try and catch up and learn what's happening.
Very good. Next on the list is Dave Julian, WB9YIG. Go ahead.
Hello, everybody. Doing good here. I just got back from a cruise around the Great Lakes, and so heading back to try to get the magnetometer started and have some fun with that. So back to that.
Sounds interesting. So next on the list is Dave New in 8SBE. Go ahead, Dave.
Yes, hi. This is actually the first time I've joined this. I've been following HamSCI and also TAPR for quite some time, and this date and time now for the Zoom call just happens to fit into my very busy calendar.
Well, very good. And welcome. And any other comments?
No, just that's it. I'll be a fly on a wall here.
Okay. Next, let's see. We have David McGaw. We're Rich and Dave's.
Mind if we call you Dave just to keep things clear?
He's the new Dave.
The new Dave.
I thought Dave was not here.
See, all you got to do is yell
But he is
Dave
now.
and somebody will answer.
Yeah, we have a few others that we could be getting on. We should ping them. Anyway,
Yes.
well, hello everyone on the net. Good evening. Not sure what to report. Nathaniel knows that we've got a project that we may be able to work on. I've mentioned this before, where I've been asked to help out with a citizen science project connected with upcoming spacecraft, and we've hopefully be able to collaborate on this and make some use for HamSCI stuff as well as maybe some other things. Very interesting project that will be observing the Earth's magnetotail. And other than that, it's been kind of hot and humid here, but maybe not as bad as some parts of the country, though we have had some good thunderstorms. And just to say, propagation is still wonky. Still curious why our 25 megahertz is just not propagating since the big storm. Every now and then I hear it, but only briefly, whereas 20 megahertz propagates just fine. But such is the vagaries of our solar max and all that. So maybe we can have a discussion at some point on that. And I know we're working on a sporadic E discussion for the science meeting at some point. Back to Nat.
Okay. Next on the list is Ed in 3ED. Go ahead, Ned.
Hello, everybody. Nathaniel might be interested to know that I was at the Murgas Ham Fest this weekend in Wilkes-Barre, and it was an interesting visit. Otherwise, I'm just following along. Back to Ned.
Okay. And Next on the list is Franco, K4VZ. Go ahead, Franco.
Hey, good evening, everyone. A few updates here. So the first of all is we're having discussion with Tom and Dave, and Tom probably is going to report on that about the new ideas for the HF receivers that probably we're going to help Rob with having multiple synchronous receiver. Also this week, and I updated for those who are interested that my distribution for the TRX Duo, which is a Red Pitaya clone with the latest version from Paul Deming. So you can do Whisper, you can do all sort of things there. And then I also kind of put on pause the project with the with Phil Harman DFC because the prototype they gave me has problem with a deck. Basically, I send all the sequence, but nothing comes out. So Justin Peng from China told me that he's gonna review it and then send me possibly a new version of that other board. And then also some little work on the SDR Play new radio driver. And also I'm working with Howard Su that most of you don't know, but is the guy who's writing the software for the AAA, the one who maintains Oscar's repository. Now the Oscar passed away, and I'm helping him with the so-called driver for the SOAP SDR interface for the AAA. So that's another thing. I found a couple of bugs, but I still have a crash and was working that tonight. Back to you, Dave.
Well, very good. And we appreciate all that you do to make these things work. So next on the list is Hugh, VK3YYZ, and AD5RV. Go ahead.
Thanks, Dave. Nice to meet you all. Yeah, I'm calling in from Southwest Victoria in Australia. My first time on the call. I've got my main interest at this stage is in the magnetometer side of things, and thanks to Dave Larson, Dave Halloway, and chime in for answering a few questions on the mailing list I had a month or so ago. Got a TAPR kit on the way, but for now I'll just listen and see how I can best contribute. Thanks all. Nice to meet you all.
Oh, nice to meet you, and we're happy to have you. Next on the list is John, WI6P. Go ahead, John. You're muted. There
Just unmuted the mic. So I'll say good evening to everyone. I haven't been able to join for the last couple of weeks. Don't have any traffic. Congratulations to Nathan and his wife. And back to Ned.
Okay. And next on the list is Majid. Go ahead, Majid.
Good evening, everyone. I'm listening.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I did see Josh came back. He was gone when we called on him. Let's call on Josh. Go ahead. Joshy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Sorry.
Good evening. I thought, Josh is not completely me because I am Dev Joshi. So I've been here last week. I was here checking on Nathaniel and I learned that he had a new baby, and I came back to check with him again because I have some work with him. Also, I'll try to silently listen what's the progress that's going on with the group, and I would like to take the opportunity to congratulate Nathaniel on his baby and also his baby works in research. Both are natural. In our community, like people used to joke, okay, I have a nature publication when they had a baby. So I think there are joys both ways. Congratulations.
Very good. Okay, next on the list is Michael, AC0G. Go ahead, Michael.
Good evening, everybody. I'm haven't been terribly active, combination of work and family. I am making a run to Fargo on Thursday, North Dakota, and we'll be bringing able to complete the install of a SynthPi station there, as well as one of the AM kits from Dave McGaw that will hopefully provide some coverage up in that neck of the woods that he wanted to cover. My mom broke her hip. That's one of the reasons I'm making frequent trips up there. And she's getting out of rehab hospital on Friday. So we have to make sure everything's squared away for her in the house. Back to net.
Well, good luck with that. And sorry to hear about things, but I see you're taking care of it.
Yeah, she's doing okay. She's doing okay. Thanks.
Next on the list is Phil, K9Q. Phil?
Hey guys. Okay, let's see. I think I said last time that I finally got some of those TAPR external reference kits for the RX-888, and I put in the 2 units so far. I have had a problem. I want to ask people if they've seen it. I'm driving it directly from the output of a Leo Bodnar, 27 megahertz, and it mostly works, except once in a while I see what appear to be slips in the reference clock. It tends to happen in episodes. It'll go for a long time without a problem, and then it starts slipping. And there's like nothing I've done that's different. I don't understand why. Comment on Leo Bodnar. The unit can be powered either through the USB or through a coaxial plug, and it says up to 12 volts, I believe. I was powering with 12 volts, and the thing gets incredibly hot. I don't recommend doing that. Power it with 5 volts or through the USB. It'll run a lot cooler. So since I've had that, I've been it's now that I have a stable receiver, I've been adding some features to K9Q radio to make it easier to do things like track carrier phase over long periods of time, like checking the accuracy of a rubidium clock against GPS and stuff like that. All I had to do this was in Radio D. I add there's another status parameter, which is an integer number of cycle counts. Every time the phase wraps more than 180 degrees, I increment or decrement the cycle wrap counter. And then that was the hook I needed over in control to display. It displays the existing PLL parameters, but now it also, like delta F, it also now shows the unwrapped phase, starting at 0 degrees, and even if it's off in frequency, the phase will just continue to increase or decrease. And then the time over which that's measured, and also the average delta F over F, in other words, the absolute error between the two. Right now, I have it tracking its own reference, tuned to 27 megahertz, and I put the PLO on, and of course, it's its own reference, so it shouldn't move at all. It's been going just about 2 hours now, and the delta phase has been bobbling a few tenths of a degree around 0 with a signal noise ratio in the loop of about 17 dB. So, I mean, that works. And I also haven't apparently had any of these reference slips in the last couple of hours. So these are the hooks also that I need to put in a feature where you can lock the reference of your 888 to some reference signal that happens to get in the front end. Since I can't seem to get it out of my front end, I might as well take advantage of it, I suppose. And for those who don't want to modify their 888s, this might be a good way to provide a good stable frequency reference. I mean, it probably can't be as good as a proper hardware connection, but it's certainly better than nothing. Anyway, that's about it. Back to you, Dave.
Well, very good. And let's see. I'm going to call on, Rob, I'm going to jump over you for a bit because you are already talking. And I'm going to call on Scott Newell is here. He doesn't have a mic as usual. And then we have Tom McDermott in 5EG. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, I didn't expect you to get called out of sequence there. Thanks, Dave. Busy week. First of all, Dave W60Q, I sent you comments in reply to the comment you sent 2 weeks ago. Did you get that document?
Oh, yeah, I got that.
Oh, good. Just wanted to make sure it made it. Most of the week, we had a great email brainstorming session with Dave Whitten, Franco Venturi, and myself about what kind of FPGAs might be usable to support 4 receiver channels on the FX10. And Franco came up with some good cost numbers where we could find some parts inexpensively. And so based on that, I installed the Xilinx tool set and installed some of the Spartan 7 series devices, wrote the Verilog code to do the function I think we need to do, and got that to synthesize last night. Still have some work to do. The Verilog actually shows the correct schematic when you tell Xilinx to print the schematic, but that's the way you do it with discrete parts. And Xilinx has some peculiarities in clocking, and I'm going to need to go back and revise the Verilog to use the Xilinx clocking methodology, but that's in process. The data sheet makes it look like the part might work, but I think we're better off to actually simulate it and look at the timing results from the tool to see if it thinks the part might work in this. So that's been the week, and back to the group.
Okay, so we still have Rob Robinette. Comments, Rob?
Well, well, most of you have heard a lot of what I talked about my trip and presentation at Friedrichshafen, which I was. If you look at it, you notice that it's pretty much HamSCI is all over each page, and trying to recruit additional contributors to our project. I'm busy now preparing. Well, I'm working on a number of things, but hardware-wise, they're trying to get deployment up at Ellis Island, VY0 Ellesmer Island in northern Canada. So, Nathaniel, you've shipped off your antenna to Yellowknife yet? Have you managed that?
No, I'm supposed to work on that tomorrow because Salisa's she comes in Tuesday through Thursday, so
Yeah,
I'm planning on doing that tomorrow.
Okay, well that's I'm waiting for an LNA from Paul, a filter LNA from Paul, which will go for the receive part of that. So later this week, I'm going to ship a B-Link, a 888 that I'm culling from KFS, and a bunch of other miscellaneous parts, including these remote control gateways for the whisper sounds. All of this is going to Pierre VE3 KTB, who's the manager of the Pearl Station, which is this research station, climate research station. That's the primary science purpose of this site up there. But Pierre is going to take all of this stuff up with him. So they're apparently planning to go on the 22nd of June and July rather, and so that we've got a pretty narrow window of time to get hardware in his hands.
I may just I think I have the money to just buy a new one. I might talk to Lisa and have her ship a new one because I can't I want to make sure that if it's going all the way up there, you have one that's like in good condition and that doesn't have any issues. So because I can imagine the disaster that would happen if I ship this thing and it's like 5-10 years old or whatever, and then this doesn't work and that doesn't work, and that sort of thing.
Okay, well, I don't know. I mean, the antenna technology really hasn't changed much. So
it's not that it has active parts to it, and it's already been down to Antarctica once. So it's not that the technology has changed. It's that I don't know how the wear and tear on the antenna is. And I want to make sure that whatever goes up there is pretty much guaranteed to work.
Okay, well, whatever. I have the B-Links. I bought a B-Link and some Pi 3s, and I'm going to buy a couple of more RX 888s so that I can to get things going to him as soon as in time for his departure.
That sounds great. Yeah, I'll talk to Lisa about that, first thing, tomorrow morning, and we'll try to get that squared away.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, that's my current focus is that getting that site up, equipment for elsewhere. We get once a year chance to get things set up to that place. I did at Friedrichshafen also meet with Professor Harche, Michael Harche, who is co-chair of that SDR Academy, and also was going to install a whisper sound down at their, I want to say Doppelganger, whatever the name of their station is down at Antarctica. But it turned out he was going to do that in January, but he slipped, fell, and broke his left arm severely on the first day when he went down there last January. So he did no, he was immediately evacuated and got no science work, including installing the whisper daemon done. So I'm going to be working with Michael to prepare not only for his return to do the whisper sound deployment, but also to get a 888 and B-Link and all that that he could deploy there. So hopefully by maybe, if everything worked great, by the end of January, February, we could have a station near the magnetic north pole and another one near the I don't think that's I don't know the German station, how close it is to the antipoid of Ellesmere Island, but at least it's close to it, and then closer than any other station. So that's my current focus. Is a lot of hardware, and that's what's on the table behind me are Pi 3Bs and other parts that I'm assembling to ship off this week. So I got more I can talk about later, but back to the net.
Okay, well, unless I missed somebody, anybody not been called on? Oh, Jim.
Jim.
Go ahead.
Good evening. I wouldn't say anything, but I did want to relate one story that I heard earlier this evening on our local 10-meter net. We had a bodacious, that's a southern term, a bodacious thunderstorm here last Friday, and had a bolt of lightning hit the ground in a subdivision not too far from me here, and actually ruptured a gas line under the surface in somebody's yard and set fire to the gas. So they had quite a venture getting that shut down, getting that put out last Friday evening. That was quite an exciting thing. That's all I'll talk about tonight. Back to Ned.
Okay, well, I guess we're done with the roll call. So we're open to general discussion. Nathaniel, do you have something you want to lead a discussion or?
Let's see. I don't think in particular at the moment. I'm interested in the updates on designing the new radio or any more discussion about that.
I thought Bob has something too, Dave, that he said he was going to.
If I could slip in, I could show you.
Oh, yes, Bob and his demonstration.
Yeah. So this is, I tried to set this up so I could actually run it on a computer here, but of course that didn't work live. So I'm just going to roll through this PowerPoint or PDF file that I've got. I don't know if that all shows up there on yours. I'm getting clipped by the images on my side, but anyway, what I've been working on is software to plot graphs of the magnetometer data on a daily basis. And this is a Python program. And this is just an example of the output from the plotting from one of my days of data collection of the TAPR magnetometer. And so I've got the 3 axes that it's collecting data on. And then I've also got the temperature being plotted here for the temperature in the ground, which is the green line. So it's staying very flat. And then I've got the ambient temperature that's over in a box. It's up above ground that my Pi is in and the data collection scheme that's connected to the network. And on the right-hand side, it's got the actual degrees in Celsius listed if you can't see it on your screen. So the approach I've taken here is that it is running in Python. I'm using Python 3.9 and had some trouble with 3.10, so I don't think that it would work on 3.10 yet. But I've got this little GUI that I set up where you can go in initially and you can select a file from your log folder that you want to look at for any of the days that you collected data on. And then I accumulated a bunch of different types of possible plots that you can make. Like you can, you're going to be able to, next slide, you're going to be able to group the readings because they're coming off of the sensor at the rate of 1 per second. So if you want to group those and then average them or get the mean or any of these other things, you could do that as well. And then you have the option to select the temperature information for your graph or not. And so I hope to post this all pretty soon on my GitHub, I guess, and I'm willing to hopefully let Bill, if he's wanting to use it or pick it up, to add it as there's a feature on the general website right now to look at the HF data. So it'd be nice to be able to pop up anybody's magnetometer data. Now, on this data, you'll notice that I put in some vertical lines to show where noon is, or that the sun is at its peak at my location. And also I've got sunrise, sunset, midnight on here. And my theory was that as I roll through that peak right here, that the magnetic pole is going to switch from the fields from the sun, plus or minus the tilt of the Earth's axis. And I think I'm seeing that happen. This is a pretty well-behaved day here. As I look through my data, I can see some of the other days that had a lot more solar activity. You can really see a lot of upset in the data. It's pretty interesting to compare that. I want to spend more time now going back and looking at data, my data versus data that was collected that is done by other sites to show what that variation actually looked like. So that's just another way to expand this, I guess, in time. So across the bottom, it's giving you just the seconds and counts. And in this case, I'm averaging at 60, so it's once a minute. You can plot more seconds if you want to, but the plot just gets busy and you don't really learn that much more from it. And anyway, that's right now I've got the thing automatically figuring out where to set the upper and lower limit. And we may fix that at some point later because it does, in some cases, it does screw up. Occasionally there's bad data that will happen and that will throw off the calculation of what the limit should be. Trying to make plots and make them pretty is a really laborious task, but I think I've got it where it's pretty robust and working. So any questions from anybody?
That looks really nice, Bob. I think that's showing things very well. I like how you have all the different information on there, and I think trying to look for that diurnal variation in the magnetic field is a good thing to do. So there's something called the solar quiet currents. Have you heard of that?
No.
So that really is what drives the diurnal variation of the magnetic field currents. And I just did a quick Google Scholar search, and this one fairly recent paper popped up, which I'll put in the chat here, and I think it's open access. Yeah, it is open access. So if you take a look at that, it talks about the solar quiet currents, and then it provides some links to some of the original papers about the solar quiet currents. So it might be something you can look for on a daily basis in there.
Okay. Sure,
the other thing I was going to say is if have you let Hyomin know about this work?
No, I haven't really. I haven't let too many people know about it yet.
Yeah, you might send him an email with some information about it. He'd probably enjoy knowing about it. I know that he had a student work on some visualization that's supposed to go on Bill's server, and I don't know when that's supposed to come online. But I think these tools are very nice, and it would be nice to get some more exposure so people could use that. So Thank you very much.
Yeah, the one thing that's tricky here is the latitude and the longitude information.
Yeah.
I've got a configuration file in here right now that I plugged that in for my station. But if you're looking at multiple stations, it would be nice if we had a metadata line in our data at the top or someplace in there so that people could include that with their data. But otherwise, you're going to have to manually select latitude and longitude for that particular station if you want to compare that.
Right. And that's very important information. Yeah. What library did you use? I know you did this in Python, but what plotting library did you use?
I'd use the
Matplotlib.
Matplotlib, yeah.
Okay, that's good.
There's my libraries right there.
Yeah.
And there are only two that actually have versions that you can get, Matplotlib and NumPy, I believe. But they're the versions that come with the distribution of 3.9. So if you have 3.9 Python, it should play okay. But when I try to run it on 3.10, it complains about some Matplotlib stuff that doesn't show up. And I've seen other people have the same problem. So
yeah.
I think
are you familiar with Anaconda Python?
I've heard of it. I haven't worked with it though.
So it's
an install package, I think, to get it installed in the system with all the right packages. Right?
Yeah, so I use Anaconda Python a lot, and Anaconda Python it's a package manager and a distribution of Python, but it's very focused. It's heavily focused on data science. So if you install Anaconda on whatever system you're using, you're pretty much guaranteed to have just about every data visualization and analysis tool you need already installed.
Meaning all the libraries.
Yes, all the libraries. That's right. But that looks very nice, Bob.
Okay. I'm looking for the stop share button, which disappeared on my system here. But I'll stop sharing. Oh, here now it shows up. Good. Okay. That's all I have.
Okay.
I have a quick question. I have a 888 that, for whatever reason, it's sharing a BODNAR. So the BODNAR is feeding two 888s. Both of them, neither of them has Paul Elliott's kit, but I am interposing an attenuator and a DC blocker. One of the 888s works just fine. So they're in effect identical setups. The second 888, using Phil's software, reports a sample time of 90 megahertz rather than the nominal 64. And I'm wondering if anybody has seen that happen or might have an insight into what I'm doing or what I might do to try to fix it. The 888 appears on the USB bus, it loads up the firmware, and it seems like it's functioning in every respect except the timing. And it's the other 888 that's attached to exactly the same BODNAR is getting its timing set correctly.
Michael, how do you have the BODNAR cabled up to the two receivers?
I have a out of the BODNAR, I have the DC blocking segment. I have a 10 dB attenuator and then a T, and then a identically length of cable going to one 888 that has a T with a 50 ohm terminator, and an identical length of cable going to the second 888 with a T and a 50 ohm terminator.
Okay,
and
so
the one RX 888 seems to work properly. The other one is reporting 90 megahertz sample rate rather than 64.
I've seen that a bunch of times in some of Rob's 888s at KFS, I believe. I don't know what the
Well, the reason for that was that that a server died, which was I was using to power the Bogners, so there was no Bogners. So you're basically when there's no clock to the detected by the by the 888. Phil software reports the clock rate is in the 90 megahertz range. So it's the 90 megahertz is just an indication that there's no clock being detected by the 888. So I don't, I have abandoned all of the installations like yours, Michael. I now only use Paul's attenuator and feed a full strength a Bogner output into the Paul's little interface board. So, and once I
I've
do that,
considered that. I ordered I ordered some more of Paul's kits, so they're on the way. And I'll modify both the one that works and the one that doesn't work. Neither of which have his kit, so that it's really an identical setup coming out of the one Bodnar. But I took the faceplate off and looked inside to see if the internal cable that goes to that little UFL port had popped off or something. But it looks like it's intact.
Yeah, that's you may have a damaged Kiwi. That I ended up damaging one. I'm damaged 888. I had one 888 that exhibited that problem, and sent it off to Clint K7OEI, and he unsoldered the can and poked around and reverse engineered. They found the circuitry, and in the end determined that both let's see, I think that 5351 and a interface chip, a logic interface chip, were blown. So I,
well, thanks for the encouraging news.
Well, you'll have to enlist Clint
yeah, possibly
to see if you can persuade him to do a little repair work on surgery on your 888. But that, unfortunately, that's what it sounds like to me. Is it? But try the real signal levels. With Paul's interface kit. And if it doesn't work with that, then you really do have a broken clock section of your 888. So
well, George has 3 of them on the way to me, so I'll or 2 of them on the way to me, so I'll replace the interface in both 888s and see what happens.
You know, another option is Glenn Elmore's little PLL board. It's more work. It's more complicated than those than Paul's interface, but it has its own TCXO and a PLL, so that if you disconnect the external reference, it just falls back to the internal PLL. I wish all the units did that. But anyway, he says he had one with a 27 megahertz crystal, and he's shipping it to me. I'm going to try it out in one of my units.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to solve. It won't solve Michael's problem if his 888's broken, though.
Not if it's broken, no. But thinking about these problems that I've been having with cycle slips, I don't think it's broken. I mean, it's still close to the proper sample rate. It just seems to slip cycles occasionally. Does anybody else have that problem?
How do you detect that, Phil? When you say slip cycles, what are you seeing?
I mean, if I listen, I can hear it, tick, 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 or, sound or faster, because that's what a sudden phase jump would sound like. And when I try to track a steady carrier with my PLL, it starts jumping all over the place. So it's either that or somehow maybe USB samples are getting lost or added. I'm kind of at a loss.
I would, yeah, I can't believe that's happening, Phil, because the way Whisper Demon records the output, your output stream of your stream, I would eventually, the Whisper Demon would have to restart a channel, and I haven't seen that happening.
What do you mean? I mean, just losing a few clocks here and there, you wouldn't notice.
Okay, well, once Whisper Demon makes recordings that are exactly 1.44000 bytes in length.
Of course, you're counting samples. I understand that.
Okay, so that's okay. So, and then at the end of getting those bytes, it takes a look at the host CPU's clock time and says, geez, which should be someplace in second zero, right? Because it started.
Yeah.
Okay. And over days and weeks, okay, one would, if there were lost samples, one would expect that it would wake up and say, "Oh, wait, and it's."
I have to calculate that because I mean it's just whatever it is apparently a small number of samples. I don't know if you noticed that.
Oh, maybe. Well, that's you're right. I don't know that but I haven't seen that happening. But I'm really glad you're looking into it, and I hope that it's something that. But I do.
Kind of getting my wits end because I'm not sure what else I can
I think
do.
I would go talk to Glenn and Clint. They both have done a very.
On your advice, I did talk to Glenn today, and that's
Yeah.
why you should be that. I'm going to try that in one of my units.
Yeah. Good. Well, that would be helpful.
I was going to keep one of them unmodified just so I could have the option of running something without an external reference.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah. But because obviously, especially if you want to do diversity reception or phase synchronous reception,
obviously, yeah,
this would be a mess. This is a mess.
Yeah, it would.
Well, this is another reason why we need to have, and another example of why we need to have this chameleon, whatever we're going to call it, whatever this thing is called, this SDR from this group and from TAPRs. There's too many unknowns inside the RX 888, and we're having to reverse engineer, and we don't have the.
That'd be wonderful.
We don't even have a schematic of this.
That'd be wonderful. Another generation of RX 888, whatever we want to call it, with all the bugs we've seen fixed.
Well, that's what. That's what
I would like. I would like to see an isolation transformer built in on that input.
Yeah. Well, get rid of the passive filter section, the attenuator. That just reduces the noise figure. So anyway, a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, a bunch of stuff.
There's a bunch of things. So I hope that all these discussions don't distract us from the fact that that's what we still need a reference receiver here, one that we can truly rely on.
Well, the more we learn about all the quirks of the RX 888, the more things we can avoid in that design.
Yeah. Yes.
It's probably going to use many of the same parts, so with any of the same pitfalls if we're not careful.
I hope so. I don't know where that project is at, but I was going to show. I don't know. I've been away for a while. I don't recall if you guys have seen this, but I wanted to point out before the call started that I have been running a test to compare the 888 against other receivers, just to validate the kind of that this wideband SDR as a architecture for receiving does not introduce other compromises into the reduced sensitivity in particular. And to that end, I think in the past I set up a test at KFS where I have 4 identical the RF off of a passive splitter going to 4 different SDRs: a 888, Kiwi, a AirSpy HF, and an SDR Play. And this is, I believe, is fairly definitive example of what that looks like, and the results I've seen is, here's an example. This is the KFS Omni for 24 hours of looking at the number of spots recorded by KFS from the signal coming off of the KFS Omni, which is the 888, and the KFS A, which is a AirSpy HF Discovery. You can see that over 24 hours, the Omni recorded on 20 meters, 12,312 spots, and the AirSpy recorded 12,242 spots. I don't think that's a statistically significant difference. And so this 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 888 is doing 12 bands, all whisper bands simultaneously, whereas the AirSpy, it can only tune to one band. So this is why you only see a 20-meter comparison. But so I think architecturally, the use of a direct conversion SDR input, as we would expect. Now, in this case, the RF is conditioned. There's a high pass filter ahead of it. There's an additional 15 dB of gain at 10 meters to compensate for the deafness of the 888. But if you do that, if you condition the RF feeding these devices properly, you obtain state-of-the-art results as far as I can tell. Interestingly, by the way, look at this dip at 14 hours ago. This is early this morning. I don't know if there was a solar weather event that occurred, but it seems like an extraordinarily low dip in the. I haven't really looked into it. I just noticed it. You can compare. This is a Kiwi. This similar comparison. You can see the Omni and the the 888 is slightly better than the Kiwi. Again, not really significant differences.
Those are curves you fit through all that data, I assume.
Yeah, that's something that this is Phil's head-to-head page. Phil VK7JJ's head-to-head page.
You're almost identical. Yeah.
I don't think this is comparison to the SDR play.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not very impressed by the SDR play, I have to say. I don't know why there'd be such a divergence, and I don't know if you can set the AGC differently on these, Phil. These are all K9Q, feeding these things, but anyway, that's an example, and I think that I think my point mostly is if we do this right, we can match and get results and sensitivity that matches any receiver that's out there. At any price, I believe. So anyway, that's
radio blackouts have been common lately. I have an app that actually dings my phone every time there is one. You can use that if you want to see what's happening in real time.
Most
radio blackouts are really short.
I don't have time to. I just record data and try to keep up with all the projects that I'm doing. Thanks for the.
Oh, anyway, that information is available. Solar X-ray activity and.
Oh yes, I know it is. I depend upon Gwyn G3CIL. By the way, this morning Gwyn gave me a preview of something he's going to show Thursday morning. Some analysis from the April eclipse that shows data from WWV recordings to your site, Nathaniel, that I think will be of great interest. There appears to be some new propagation modes that he's observing. And, in part because the WWV carriers are so much stronger than whisper signals, you get to see things happen that you don't if you look at standard 1 watt, 250 milliwatt whisper signal. So we started to nose around the idea of a high power whisper band where we put up some 10 watt or 100 watt whisper carriers to be able to investigate a propagation phenomenon that we're not able to see with these 1 watt whisper sound transmissions. So I think that would be I think there's we're uncovering as we get more data in and we look at more data. I think we're uncovering more and more things the phenomenon that are worthy subjects for research. And the data is all there. I think what we need, we're getting so much data, and Gwen being the only person really looking deeply into it, I think there's so much more that could be extracted and learned from the data that we're already recording.
Yeah.
So
I totally agree with you, and I mean I'm really grateful that Gwyn is looking into it, and I mean, I think we're getting to the point where we have a lot of different projects, and we actually do have people doing, analysis on different things, but there's just so much to look at all at the same time.
It
And
is. It is. By the way,
yeah.
two things is I have Nathaniel. I have your transmitter at your friend's house has been off air. Their whisper sound. I don't think
Yeah, we should touch base with him
Okay.
again.
So what I know he had trouble with his remote access. So that's why I've built a Pi 3B that I was going to ship to you that he
Okay.
could plug into that unit, and and then he should be able to forget about it.
Okay.
Okay. But without reliable remote access to the command line in that whisper sonde, we have no way of knowing what's going on with it.
Yeah,
So
I'll send him an email right now and
okay.
see
Well,
how.
I will ship this to you later this week, so you could he could just plug it in to the USB port and plug it into his internet, uh, ideally, and Ethernet connection to his router if possible, or Wi-Fi to the router,
Great.
and and it would allow us to get your whisper sound station back on air.
Great.
And then of course your receive site, we need to have some work there.
I know.
And
Yeah.
I can imagine this is not the time to do it, but
Yeah, my top priority right now has to be getting this. I've got this LSTID project that Bill Engelke is working on with me, and I'm trying to get this paper revised, and like that and advising my students is just taking top work priority for me right now.
of course.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're here to help you when you want
Oh,
to get.
I know. It's on my list.
Okay.
But I do appreciate it. I'm sending Patrick an email right now, and I'm CCing you on that.
Okay.
Can I just say again, I believe I mentioned it last week. I sent some emails, one posted to the list. I messed around, for what it's worth. I messed around with the Linode site pretty extensively about a week ago because we ran out of space, essentially. And I switched over to block storage, which is a lot cheaper and easier to increment quantities. So it's got plenty of storage for a while now. But for those of you who use the magnetometer and upload that data to that site, and care to continue to do so, it would be really good if you just have a look at your data through the web page there and make sure it all makes sense. I know both Michael and Dave Larson have disappeared from that, except for Dave's unit up in South Dakota, or I mean, Michael's unit up in South Dakota. There hadn't been any updates I last saw. And also Nathaniel, I don't know if you're even trying, so I don't know, but there had been some. This is the data that goes to the Linode site, not to they're
Not
just
to Bill Engelke's.
not to Bill Engelke's, and you may not be choosing to do that.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if you think you are, it would
Yeah.
be really good to check it. It's
Yeah.
really easy to check.
It's not, if I'm not sending it, it's not because I'm purposefully not sending it. It's
That's what I
because
expected.
it's because it just broke.
Yeah.
So
Well, what happened was it actually, I'm not exactly certain at what time, at what point. It had been a few days. It was Jim in Georgia there, K4BSE, who made me realize that we had really run out of space. So those uploads were failing. Now, most of those, the way that's set up, are set up in such a way that the minute they'll keep trying, and if they can succeed, they will. And it'll pull up any days that have been recorded locally, because those are recorded locally. And so missed days will get reloaded, and then everything will catch up. without really anybody doing anything. But
Yeah.
I saw some that either caught up a little bit or didn't, didn't seem to be trying at all. And so just in case you like the
Yeah.
idea of putting your data there, you
Yeah.
can have a look.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't know why it's not uploading, so maybe I'll have to
it
get
could,
with you. Because I logged into my system right now and it seems to be collecting just fine.
yeah, well, it can be collecting just fine, but
Yeah.
just not transferring. Uh,
Yeah.
and and you might be sure and check that on the Tuscaloosa system, the data is getting there too.
Definitely.
Because if the magnetometer is simply not working for some reason, then it might not be going either place.
Yeah.
Um, but I wanted, and um, I moved things, and there's quite always a possibility I did something wrong because I had to remap all the symbolic links for all the directories, which is something I'm notoriously bad at doing.
Mm.
Uh, it's always given me fits, and I think everybody uploads to a folder in their own account on the Linode system, and then that is mapped into the web server. But it's always possible I did something backwards. And so just I would sleep a little better if I knew everybody, that I hadn't made any stupid mistakes. Um, and and that kind of pertains to the questions that were coming up with Hillman today on that paper,
Yeah.
because it looks like he has been using data pulled down from the Linode server,
Yes.
and hopefully I have preserved that. I have lots of backups of this stuff. And also I made pretty big chunks of zipped up things before I did it. I actually got a warning from them for I pulled it all down locally too, and for once I had to pay a little. I slapped my knuckles for for
Data
using
transfer.
for due data transfer. I see
Yeah.
data transfer warnings, but they're never actually exceeding my thing. But I had to pay $2.50 or something. They were very.
I might mention on Nathaniel's station, the last time Nathaniel Station uploaded any magnetometer data to the personal space weather station network, that is the UA website, was in October of last year.
Really?
That was the last time we got any data from your station uploaded
Okay.
to the PSWS.
Well, then my I guess I'm gonna have to talk with some of you about getting that fixed because my system is definitely collecting data and I just checked it. It's working right now and I've got 7.2 gigs of data, so I've got plenty of data to share.
Well, it will run out of space locally eventually and start
Yeah.
having problems because of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be happy to work with anybody. Hate to give you another problem to worry about, but I also know that I think the one I saw from you was uh, July 1st or something. I got one, but then
Huh.
nothing after or something. Uh,
Okay.
but but hopefully, I can serve as a little bit of a backup to the other stuff where we can import things if need be.
That would be very good.
Yeah, Dave, the thing that's going to be most helpful to Hyoman is to make sure that we have the data for the dates that were in that email. I think I forwarded his email to you.
I let me double check. Okay, I've got an email, a couple emails from labeled from Hillman since I last looked at them, so that they're probably in there. Yeah, I just didn't know the date ranges. Um, I'll double check. Yeah, they're going to want us to show our data. For sure.
Yes, yeah. but apparently he's got a reviewer. He's been working with a reviewer, and the reviewer wants to reproduce the plots, which is an excellent idea. But he's been looking for the data on the personal space with the station network, and I don't have most of that data they're looking for.
Right. And that was another question. I kind of had thought we had moved all the legacy data over to your system and caught it up. But I know there was a lot of that dribbled in over a long time, people signing up for different ones. And at some point we might want to move what I have, a copy of what I have into your system, but that may take, some scripting to get it to import my files easily into yours.
It's a good idea. We should do it. I'll put that on the list of things for the students to do once they're back for the fall semester.
Sure. Okay, I just want to, but I'm not hovering over this stuff on the Linode, but I try to look at it now and then, and they do send me threatening emails now and then if I really. They didn't send me when I ran out of space, though. Of all things, they sent me everything else. But anyway, I switched to block storage, which is essentially SAN type storage, which I can buy in seemingly maybe 5 gig increments or something. And it's a lot cheaper than creating new EFS4 volumes, because to do that I have to duplicate the entire instance and expand everything, and it goes up by notches. I get more processors and more RAM, and I don't need it. So this seemed a better solution, but I even think I can just expand the storage anytime I want to. I think I did that in this process. I just had done another 100 gig, and I decided maybe that wasn't enough, so I made 150, and I just had to click a couple of boxes and it expanded. So it's a better deal.
That sounds very good.
I don't mean to trouble people with this stuff, but it's because I know it's not big in everybody's mind, but we tend to kind of take it for granted. And
no, it's really important in that if the data is there, it will get used, and if it's not there, then we have trouble. Yeah.
I've got the same problem. I haven't got all of my data uploading to the Bill's server, but I have got it going into the Linode server. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's just time. I just haven't spent the time working on the code. I modified Bill's code for my own needs here and just hadn't fixed all the little bugs that I created.
Yeah. I might try oof. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to work on that at a later time though for myself, because I've got a lot of other things that I'm also trying to get working as soon as possible. Feels like everything has to be done all at the same time, which is right now.
The other thing, if you haven't been uploading for a while, you may want to slow down the pace. I think Bill doesn't want you pushing all your data in at once.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the mag data is that heavy.
No.
Yeah, the server can take a pretty substantial load. Don't worry about it. Just push it.
Okay.
Yeah, and the Linode's running light too, except for periodically when I assume it's students pulling down chunks for, like Yeoman students or somebody pulling down things to work on. Somebody, I get a little notice, but it doesn't cost anything or anything. It's just I have some thresholds set, and it sends an email. But I do have enough bandwidth from here at home that I evidently can, set their hair on fire a little bit, but these days.
Okay. Is it supposed to be a cron tab job that's uploading this?
Oh boy, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a cron tab job on your local Pi that is runs, usually around 7 o'clock in the evening. And I tried to make it so it would run twice a day in case, it missed one. But it uses rsync over SSH to push the data up, and the idea was that rsync, if it saw, it would check the signatures, and if they didn't match, it would upload anything new. And so if you miss a day for some reason, or if your internet's out or something, the data still goes up there, is the idea. But
Now, Dave was talking about pushing it to the Linode server, but Bill's server is coming from a Python program or script.
Yeah, that's a different strategy. And I'm just, I've never set my own one up properly with Bill, so I should sometimes, so I know how it works.
Okay, yeah. Hmm. Yeah, it's giving me a bunch of errors. Okay, I'm gonna have to work on debugging that. It's 10:10 here, so I think I'm gonna say 73 for the evening. Um, does anyone is anyone else staying on?
Well, one thing, Nathaniel, congratulations.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. And
Yes, Mazel Tov and
thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
May
you
I
so
have,
much.
yeah, just a minute, Nathaniel.
Yes, we we can have a minute. I actually, Dev, I really do need to go right now.
Okay.
Okay.
So we'll
So
communicate in email, okay?
yeah,
Thank you.
send me the notes in an email and then we'll try and discuss from there. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone. And Phil, I also did get your notes on the presentation the other day, so I'm gonna work on integrating them and getting an updated version of the presentation out there. So thank you.
Okay. Sorry, I have to go under a bunch of windows here to find the button.
Rob?
I need a good old-fashioned PTT.
Rob Robinette.